What's up, guys? I'm Dr. Kyle, Dr. Zeb, and we're here with this week's movement tip of the week. This week we're going to talk about the Adductor Magnus muscle. This muscle is extremely large, and it runs actually the span of kind of up in the pubic region, in the ischial tuberosity, and all the way down medially in the leg. Now, most people mistake this muscle as purely an adductor, which means when you take your leg and bring it to midline. And that is definitely not the case. This muscle also has a bunch of other functions, including what we're doing right now, which is squatting. It also plays a huge role in the triathlete population, so we're here to kind of tease this muscle apart today. The Adductor Magnus is a very powerful hip extensor when we're talking about running in triathlons, but also plays a pivotal role in the squatting position. So a few movement tips back, we talked about knee valgosity or knee collapsing when we're in our squats. And what this looks like, especially in people who are really, really tight, is that when they're going down into their squat, beyond what we call motor control or having the ability to control our knees via our hips or our medial hamstrings, other muscles, the adductor magnus can be a reason for this knee collapsing. So if someone were to be going into a squat and they don't have proper length or eccentric loading of their adductor magnus, what can happen is this knee can start to collapse a little bit. Again, remember that this muscle spans from way up in our pubic region, right in the ischial tuberosity region, all the way down into the medial knee. It has a ton of different attachment points. So as we're going down here, if something's not lengthening out properly right through the adductor, you can have this collapse here. Similarly, on the way up, if you don't have proper control of this muscle, when you're coming out of your squatting position and trying to push up, you can see a little bit more of this inward collapse of the knee, which can cause a host of issues inside the knee region. So keep an eye on that as you're squatting, and one thing that you definitely want to be aware of is making sure before you're doing any sort of squatting motion, deadlifting, anything that's a very hip dominant movement that involves hamstrings or glutes or anything, make sure the adductors are opened up as well.
Now my squat, you may notice between the two of us, if we get side by side here, I don't quite get as low as Kyle does, and my tendency is to have to shift a little bit, and that's because primarily as a running background, I have a little bit more tension, a little bit more tightness in my adductors, particularly the Magnus, where Kyle's been working on his quite a bit more. Now, as the Adductor Magnus, as a groin muscle, but also an internal rotator of the thigh, it pairs with your primary extensor musculature, the gluteus maximus, to propel the leg backwards, primarily in fast running. So in people that do a lot of sprinting or high intensity running, this muscle also gets very tight. But patients will often say it feels like a hamstring, but they can't lengthen it with a standard flex forward straight knee stretch this way. So to get the adductor magnus, it helps to go into a kneeling lunge. And I want you to take your hand, reach underneath or inside, grab your heel, and then just gently lunge forward with your knee a little bit 45 degrees out and away. Okay, that length targets that muscle particularly, and it really does a good job of lengthening it out. Any kind of fast movement is going to create tension here, and while elasticity and explosiveness is important in fast running, it's also important to make sure that you lengthen those sarcomeres appropriately after high intensity to make sure that you don't develop any excessive scarring or movement restriction. Now, in the adductor compartment, you've got the brevis longus magnus, and between those two muscles are the obturator nerves. And if you're having any problems with increased tension or tethering, you get a lot of sharp groin pain, and it can be pretty excruciating. So, take those movement tips, a couple stretches, and see if this works for you.